What's up, guys? Welcome to the TCG Scrubs podcast. I'm Oscar, and with the usual dudes of Colin and Joey.
Hey.
Welcome back to another week, and as usual, shout to our sponsors for the channel as well as the podcast. For Happy Little Hook Factory, you guys can check them out in the link description below. The new set is up for pre-order. It's a bunch of cool, exciting new things. Very strong, very questionable, I guess. So make sure to head that way and pre-order your boxes. Those go for about 80 a piece, and you can pick them up, and they ship out the weekend of release. And then I think they also have some Caster Chronicle stuff you can check out there if you're into that as well. Also to our Patreons over at patreon.com/TCGscrubs who help us upgrade all sorts of equipment, audio, help us do some cool stuff. We do some cool stuff back with them as well. The gameplay, recorded gameplay, or our Patreon podcast we do. We also do some like kind of deck critiques that they send them over to us. We'll check them out. We do have a cool gameplay coming up here in a couple of days that we're going to record once Colin and I can get together again and record that. And that's between two patrons' deck lists that they send over to us in a what would have been GP situation if Catskills hadn't been canceled. So that'd be fun to check out as well. Colin, do you have anything else you wanted to add to that, or are you good?
I think that was everything. And also, I don't know if you mentioned, but there's also Caster Chronicles pre-orders on Happy Little Hook Factory for the new set, as well as stuff from the older set as well.
Yeah, I just mentioned
and this you did mention it?
I mentioned I forgot there was a pre-order for the new set at Polar Knights. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and the Star decks. There's spoilers going out for them right now. I might wait till the whole thing is spoiled and then do a video on it, just because it'll be cool, but also they're using old Force of Will art on this set as well, which I thought was kind of interesting. And they're bringing back a lot of old mechanics. They're bringing back Soul Bond and some other stuff I'm blanking on now, but I just thought it was in some really bonkers servants. So
yeah, that's the big takeaway is anybody who plays Force of Will that doesn't pay attention to casters is they'll be reusing some of the artwork from older sets. They've already used 2 cards so far, both Cthulhu's. One was from the Force of Will movie card, and the other one was from an old Gil Cthulhu card. I forget the name of it because it was just one of those non-memorable ones. But I think that's what they're aiming for, just cards that people don't remember, and they're going to use those or something like that. But you guys
good idea. So if you guys collect those stuff, hopefully casters will go back to having textured cards. Finger crossed, and that'll be some good collector items.
And then that's about it for intros. So we're gonna talk about like a lot of the new cards we've seen lately, and kind of give our opinions on, I guess, direction they were going. You guys were kind of going on it a bit. If you wanted to continue that, I don't know.
I just wanted to point out something real quick before we get started that I just noticed was interesting during, if you guys watched our spoiler videos. I mean, this is me going off the heels of the most recent one we recorded, so I don't know if we recorded another one by the time this comes out, but it had the Alice cards in it. And one thing I thought was interesting, granted they're yellow and black cards, but I've noticed this with all the spoiled cards. It's just like, oh, this will be really good for maybe Brunhild, and this will be good in an altar combo, and that's pretty much all we've talked about the whole time. It's like oh, that's a cool machine card. I mean, it won't do anything as far as competitively for machines, but it'll at least make my locals deck good. I think that's the farthest we got outside of altar combo. And like even the green cards, like I was like, oh, this could do cats and stuff, and then we saw the other ones. I was like, actually, those might be better in altar combo and Brunhild.
I don't know about that, but all the cards that we've seen, I feel like all the cards we've seen so far have been Brunhild, like white black heavy, and we have not, like, the red cards were cool, but they did like, you know, I mentioned this before too, but they were not on the same power level as these things that we're seeing now.
I think it's we're reverting back to what it was before, which Jeff had talked about, which is they at the company, and so that would be who was in charge before he came in and who's in charge after. So this is who's back in charge. Have the belief that there should only be like 1, maybe 2 super crazy strong decks, and nothing else should really matter too much. And so you focus on that. They love Sherry, and they think everything should be focused on the Sherry combo type of deck. And then you just do fun support for other stuff that doesn't matter, but Sherry should be leagues above everything else as far as power level. And so we might be seeing that right now in the form of the like altar combo and little bit of yellow like Brunhild type of shenanigans, but that also could be splashed into black as well. Is basically the only two things that we're going to see actual legit focus on.
Yeah, I remember Jeff saying that also, and saying that they believe there should be like one deck that people are trying to like beat out and stuff.
Well, not even that they're trying to beat out. It's just they think mirror matches of the same identical deck is how you see skill level and stuff, and that's how people like it in Japan and stuff like that, and which is why Force of Will did so well in Japan. So,
well, but right now, where they've been
definitely
support in Japan, and so are they still going to cater to that?
yeah, they're 100% just going to cater to what they think the Japan audience would be, because the people working on Force of Will, at least one of them, I believe, I could be wrong, is still part of Casters, and Casters is big in Japan. So they're going to just have this vicarious idea of how players want to play through Casters and apply that to Force of Will inside of the Japan sort of zeitgeist, I think.
Well, I think there's a couple things going like in play here. Like, I think that their basic design philosophy won't change too much. I know Jeff had said that maybe, he might have had some influence on some of the designers and stuff to make stuff a little more fair and whatnot. I remember him saying that before he left, I think. So it's interesting, but yeah, I think they'll try and keep with what their design philosophy has been, like, which is what Colin and we were just talking about. I think it's interesting. Like, I feel like there is a bunch of support for like just black decks in general. I don't even know if like the alter combo is like going to be crazy insanely like buffed. Like, yeah, Lucifer doesn't really look like he fits into the combo, but I think you can just squeeze him in there, and he'll do just fine.
But I feel like he would be a good replacement for Abazuruki.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like it's just like I never thought Oborozuki was like the the linchpin of the alter combo deck anyways. So it's like it's just stuff like that, I feel like, where like, yeah, Lucifer, none of his abilities scream like alter combo for you, but
Yeah,
I agree.
No,
one of my concerns though, with the cards coming out that have been like touched by Jeff, Easy, or anybody, is that the small instance that was caught before the last set release, and now it's on the Dark Alistar, of making it one instance per turn rather than it could be infinite. Remember that one?
Yep.
Like, I'm just afraid like little things like that are going to be missed. That's my like main concern kind of going into this next set, is there's not something in there that just loses it and it's just like go, and it's just done.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm kind of hoping the same thing too.
Especially with how much of this isn't in English yet, it could lead to problems because we don't know exactly what it says. And there also could be instances of that sort of infinite combo that we aren't aware of that could already be seen with some of the cards spoiled. An example is like the Allison Edition combo that we just put out. Like, are they aware of that? Was that their actual intention? Because we do know, I think it was mentioned by, I don't know if it was Jeff or someone else, that designers work off of the cluster as far as like combos and stuff like that. They don't pay as much attention to the previous cluster, so they probably didn't even care whether there was an edition that comboed off of there being that many races, or they just didn't come across it in their playtesting if they place tested that much.
Right. True.
And so whether or not the edition is intentionally designed to work with that is, we would have to wait and see. They could easily create an errata or an update to the CR that makes it so it doesn't work. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see for the.
And I mean, they also could just be of the opinion that for 3 months they don't care, so they're like, oh well, this will be good when it comes out. I don't know. It does seem weird that she gains all races. Like, there has to be more coming out that has to do with races, because just having that, that callback to that one edition seems a little like, when it's going to rotate out in 3 months, seems a little like.
I don't think that was a callback to that edition. I think it just
it wasn't a call
to work with that edition.
Yeah.
This is its own
yes,
thing.
it just is there other stuff that deals with all those races? Like
yeah.
that,
So
if something has every race?
Here's what Oscar and I were spitballing. Not that stuff. Well, I mean, technically, diverse evolution it guarantees everything will get the counters on your field. But the thing Oscar and I were spitballing back and forth, and I alluded to, was like, you have the stone, so it's a human, doesn't get canceled. This can also be used in, say, for something funny, you can flip with Fuji and go grab it because it's a 3-cost dragon. You can use the rune that does 800 damage, and then you search for a 4-cost or less dragon in your deck. You can go and what was the other stuff, Oscar? I'm blanking.
Well, I know like what machines have search for support, right? Merlin.
Correct. It's a machine, so you can do combos with machines. It gets counters. It gets flying if it has counters on it.
I see what you're saying.
There's other little things here and there.
It's a Valkyrie.
It's a soul, so Ayu has another soul to pitch.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's the funny one.
I think in Wanderer, some people are pointing out it's a chimera, so Fox has some more stuff it can grab from.
Oh yeah, and it's technically ancient magic. There was a resonator that was ancient magic as its race, so technically it's an ancient magic. So what's his face?
Solon and Gil.
Gil specifically can play this turn 1. Can put it down because it's an ancient magic. It removes its counter, or does it get 2 counters? It might be turn 2 it plays it. Turn 1 or 2 it's able to play it because it's an ancient magic. It's obviously Wander. It's a fairy tale, so you can do all that type of stuff.
Well, it already had fairy tales its main typing though.
Did it?
Not that really matters. Yeah.
Okay. But
yeah,
basically
I mean,
anything that refers to a race, you can use this card in. So there is that side
it's
of it.
Sand.
It's definitely still a cat.
It's a sand. Yeah, it's probably the best sand resonator we've ever gotten.
It is it's a cat, so it'll get +2/+2.
That's true. It combos with cat even more. I was pointing out because it gets the +2/+2.
Yeah, no, we were going and going because there's just all sorts of like hilarious ideas you can just pitch this with.
Yeah, I was going through the Forceable database and I was actually I'll pull up. Maybe I'll make sure I'm not missing.
It'd be pretty cool. Paying 4 for your what's the card for the Shikigami summon? Wasn't Shikigami summon? What was it?
Oh, it works
Yokai
with
Festival?
the
Yokai
Festival.
That's what I'm thinking. Like you can actually get 2 of these out.
Yeah.
There's a card that never saw play that would actually be super good for this because it's 1 blue and 2 void, and you search your deck for a were-rabbit with total cost 3 or less and put it into the field. Yeah. And that's like actually pretty good for that. If you're like, you put 4 of those and 4 of the Alice if this is the combo you're going for. So you have 8 cards that guarantee Alice gets in the field technically.
Undeath. Target skeleton or zombie with 3 or less.
Yeah.
She has a lot more flexible than I thought at first.
It's like infinitely flexible.
I will say that I think it's going to be a lot more difficult getting off both of these cards' abilities, like the
Joey, before I forget,
et cetera.
The other thing since it's blue is you just mystery box into her in her edition, because if you're running places of everything, mystery box most likely would guarantee you do that. So you run sort of combo, whether it be the altar combo to make sure you get to those 7 things real quick, or you run Garm Held or something like that as a way to like go thunk 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 and jump start it. In case you're having a bad game, you run mystery box in your rune deck as a backup.
But yeah, I do feel like their secondary abilities is going to be more challenging than we think to activate. Like maybe Alice will be pretty easy actually. Like I feel like banishing something or just discarding cards to draw a card is actually going to be like I think she's going to be the most consistent. Like in being able to get the addition, chant, resonating magic stone, and it's only 4 things, right? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Like,
addition, chant, resonator, magic stone. Yeah.
Like you'll probably have a resonator. You'll probably have a chant. Addition might be a little harder because I don't think you'll run a whole lot, and magic stone will be could be easy, but also could put you behind a decent amount.
Yeah.
But if you think about it this way, if you run this inside of the altar combo deck, getting the not only an addition, but addition in your graveyard is super easy because you just banish your addition. So what you do is you run her to get the stuff you need, mainly the magic stone and whatever stuff, and you get the addition out on the field, the diversity, and then you banish the altar to search for a 3 cost, and that ideally would be your last thing you needed in your graveyard is that addition, and then you got all your boxes ticked for it to come in with swiftness, and then all your other stuff is now buffed, etc., etc., and now you're producing all the colors.
I definitely
so you can do something
see,
with that.
if anything, that our Dark Alice card being added to a lot of the decks, especially a lot of the Alter decks. Cause
well, I think she can fuel like just discarding or sacking stuff and drawing cards. Like think about it. Like think about if you're playing like Layla or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have your 2 Laylas down, or maybe you don't have them down. Maybe you play Skeleton Horde. It's like 1 cost Skeleton Horde. Then you play Alice, and you just banish 2 Skeleton Hordes, and you draw 2 cards. Like that kind of seems like Guinevere levels of being able to draw cards right there.
Yeah.
Like sacking, banish or sacrificing, banishing. Sorry, I just flipped back and forth between them like 4 times. Banishing those resonators to draw a card is like kind of crazy. It's like draw a card, then banish an entity. Repeat this once, draw a card, banish an enemy. It's like draw 2, just sacking, a Skeleton Horde or something.
You also set up super early, like Layla Alter.
It's draw a card or banish an enemy, by the way, Jay. It's draw a card, discard a card, or banish an entity. It's not both of those. It's both of those if you choose for it to be, but you could draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards or banish 2 entities.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Just to clarify.
That's what I'm saying. Like it just feels like banish. Like if you're playing, if you used to play Guinevere, I feel like Guinevere was very similar to where you could like have a sack outlet, which Layla is a really awesome one. You can play her and then sacrifice Layla and draw a card. Have another stone out. Like it's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, that's true. You could potentially create a deck that's more geared specifically toward that combo, and in that scenario, you don't even run Alter because it would clog up your deck, and you have a banish mechanism now for Layla. And so what instead you do is you just run these 4s of all the other stuff to guarantee that Alice combo happens as well. So I'm not saying that'd be good, but that is a scenario you could look at as not having to run the Alter if you don't. It could be more clunky than you want it to be.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was trying to say earlier, you guys kept talking. I was saying it's great, like Alter Layla, sack Layla. You search the Dark Alice off the 1, so it's like half the stuff you need is already in there. That's all I was trying to say earlier.
Right, exactly. Well, that's kind of what Colin was halfway saying too.
Right after I was trying.
It's
to
just
say.
I think, yeah, okay. I think she's actually really flexible. Her ability could really backfire because you can't like reach in your graveyard. You can't do anything with your graveyard. Like let's say you try and pair her with Brunhild. Like nothing that you chuck into the graveyard is going to be able. You're not going to be able to grab it until she dies. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It may even restructure the way that black-white decks run. They may not even. I think even now, only 2 cards target the graveyard in the way they're structured, and that's the Ruler and then Missatine. And they can just replace Missatine at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But I think we should sort of talk about rather than continuing too much on the just spoiler discussion. Essentially,
sort of an overall.
Yeah, overall, from the spoilers we've seen, how you guys feel about the power levels so far, and how you see that going for this set. Do you see it as because there's people in our Discord who saw it as maybe as a positive having overpowered cards, and I've seen some back and forth on Facebook and stuff. So maybe we can talk about what we see so far. And
numbers wise so far, I just put all the cards into a folder, and assuming that Satan and what's the black-white card? Odin are actually in the set, and those are promos. We've seen 15 cards so far. I'm not sure how confirmed it is that the Kaguya is also in the set, but that'll put us at 18 cards. So 18 out of 50 new cards, right?
Yeah.
So we're almost to the halfway point, but so far what I see is I'm really liking it. I think it's going to change a lot of the decks and the way that they're structured and the way they're built. I normally just get 1 box. I'm actually probably getting another 1 or 2 boxes beyond that just to guarantee pulls, because that's how I'm feeling about this right now. I think this is really cool looking. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. I'm a little worried. I'm more worried than I am it's clear. It feels clear to me that they're pushing a lot of these cards, which is fine. Like that's kind of I don't know if it's fine, but like that's what they have to do in order to get these. To not have another like really bad mini booster box sale. So like I feel like the power level on a lot of them is where I think is pretty cool. I feel like the power level on some of them is just like
a little too high.
I haven't found a way. Like there's a lot of ways that we've kind of speculated, but I'm sure there's one person who's going to be who discovered the altar combo. Like when we saw altar spoiled, when we saw Layla spoiled, I remember saying like, oh man, like this is a really good sacrifice outlet. Like this is, if we ever get something like that, it's gonna be pretty good. And then I think we saw altar, and I didn't do that connection, especially because I kind of felt like, oh well, it's another edition, and I think we all kind of wrote it off as.
I didn't make the connection to Layla, but I specifically made the comment of relating it to the other edition that flips to the other side and gives you a sack outlet, and how actually good having a sack edition is, because it counters people swinging in with drain or trying to get effects off of destruction. Being able to sack it on your own terms and get benefits from those on your own terms was actually decent.
But I think overall you were kind of agreeing that with all the easy edition hate, you probably wouldn't see a lot of play and stuff.
Yeah. And to be fair, I also for some reason didn't click that when someone goes to destroy it, just in response you banish it.
Well,
so it doesn't matter.
Exactly same.
For some reason that didn't click for me.
So it's I feel like that's going to be a handful of these cards where we're like, well, Lucifer, he could be, he could be destroyed. Like I'm talking about, split second destruction while he's on, before they're going to regain all their life. But there could be people who are brewing this stuff are just, they put together the next, Layla Alter deck that we didn't see, and now all of a sudden we're like, well, this is the best deck in the format. This broke the whole game. So I'm just worried something like that is going to happen with the power level of all these cards.
Here's the thing. One, it's a terrible idea, Oscar. Because I'm like, oh, they're fine with half the set being reprints. Okay, all right, we'll keep doing that. He usually buys one, but he's buying three. Just I'm I'll have the one box or whatever, and I'm just probably gonna buy a bunch of singles after that. But the my thing with it is there's a lot of actually cool effects I like. I think I could be wrong about this, but if the edition was banned and everything, I actually kind of like her having all races, because just the fun random stuff. If I was playing a dragon deck and all of a sudden searched her with Fuji, you'd be like, wait, what? And I'd be like, boop a doop a doop, and that'd be kind of funny. So I like stuff like that. And there are circumstances where the Odin and his destruction is kind of cool, and I will say this, I think this was the wrong way to go about it, but I'll give them credit for actually printing a counter for him in the exact same set, which Forza was notorious for never doing.
Yeah.
So they did that. I think it's absolutely stupid that they put it in black and made it potentially one cost, but whatever. Because now someone's going to flip Odin and they just destroyed all their own stones and just lose the game basically by default.
Man, you know what that just made me think? That card is actually a perfect with Odin, because you can give your own stones eternal and not banish your
Shut up.
Well, no,
you give people ideas. You give people ideas.
So I don't know if you're still on your train. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Basically, I was saying there are cool and interesting effects that I like.
Yeah.
The problem I'm seeing is every single card that's cool. It's okay, here's this thing, and here's this thing it does. And you're like, okay, cool. And then they're like, also it does this. And you're like, wait, it was perfectly fine before. Or they're like, it does all this. And you're like, okay, cool, that'd be pretty cool for 6 costs. And and it costs 2. And you're like, wait, what? So I feel like not every card, a lot of the cards are missing the mark as far as what I feel like is a good power level for Force of Will. We've been at a good power level for the most part, with the exception of the Altar combo. We've been at a pretty decent power level for a while, and we finally got a taste of what a fully balanced game does, and I feel like this is all just going to permanently tilt everything to just these things, and even the things that aren't those power levels, like I was telling Oscar before, because he was asking if there's even any GPs that this would even matter for, and I was saying, well, the main thing is the locals. If you show up to your locals and they flip, and all of a sudden they got a bunch of 21,000 attack and defense resonators on the field, or they go and destroy all your stones, like Joey just said, and they protect all their stones from being destroyed, or they go and they even though you guys were like, oh, it's not great, still at your locals, if for 3 they destroy your J ruler you just judgmented while they gain life, and then they reanimate that by flipping Brunhild and destroy your giant resonator and gain another 1,000 life. Like, these are all things at the logo level that people would hate to see. You don't want to see mechanics, especially things like the stone destruction and the big old resonators and stuff like that. That's like nothing you can do about. That makes it so you just can't play. That makes it so the game ends in 4 or less turns. Anything that makes the game end in 4 or less turns, or makes it so you can't play, things like the stone destruction, things like we had before with Law of Silence, etc., make for, or time. Was it time? Oh, I always get it wrong. The time spinning which chant card, that distortion of time, that make it so you can't play, will make it so people just don't want to play. Because why would you want to play a game that doesn't let you play when you go to play? So that's my biggest concern. Is even if with the power levels of everything, even stuff that you're like, oh, it's fine because this is stronger than that. This is the thing that the locals are going to play, because it's probably not as expensive as this, and it's easier to make and easier to play, and it's going to be just as effective.
See in the companies, like, oh, you're worried about your locals? I thought nobody had locals anymore.
Well, not anymore.
So, on the subject of you saying, oh, Oscar, don't do that, you're going to make them think that it's okay. If all the stores and everybody's pre-ordered their sets and they know what they need to sell is already sold, then us buying it or not buying it doesn't send a message back to them.
It does. If all the locals sell out of what product they do have, and they go to the distributor next time and say, oh, the last one sold good, here's the more I want, then that it'll be, a little bit, it'll be staggered. It'll be 2 or months after the set comes out, but that's when the company would realize, oh, that set must have done well because now they want more. Okay, so now we know we can just do whatever we want.
A little bit, yeah. I definitely see it,
like, I see it more as, sorry, real quick, as, we can do whatever we want with those reprints, but as long as we match that power level we gave them last time, they're cool with it.
That's even worse. That's even worse, because you're gonna get into a Yu-Gi-Oh situation where you're gonna be stuck in a loop of trying to outmatch your previous power level or match it, which is gonna create an unstable format, and especially where the company no longer is gonna maintain the ban list. They don't care about Wander, and they may or may not update the CR. That's like gonna create like one of the potentially most toxic gaming environments ever. Like if you do that. Even if they maintain the ban list, they're just going to make it so a bunch of cards get banned, especially if they're all consistently at the power levels we've been seeing so far.
I think, so talking about power levels, I feel like cards like, I want to butcher her name, Anger Botha is like, I feel like that's a good power level. Like, I think 3 costs to discard her, destroy a target J resonator and gain life is like, I'm perfectly fine with that effect. Reanimating her is obviously like pretty good, and I feel like that's maybe a little too strong, but I'm okay because we have like Evil Elemental Uprising and stuff to counter those kind of plays.
Unless you have the yellow resonator in the field that counters Evil Elemental Uprising.
But if you have that on the field, then you can't reanimate her anyways. So it's stuff, huh?
I said I'm sure there'll be a way.
It's stuff like where there's a lot of abuse potential, like Alice, where somebody's gonna come up with some form of a deck that just like recycles a bunch of stuff or just goes off really crazily, and the company's not gonna see it coming, or it's just gonna break the game. It's like I feel like that's a decent power level. It's like it's strong, it's not unbeatable, it's it's kind of fair. It's just stuff like Lucifer, where if I have 2 Lucifers out, and I pay 1,000 life, I gain 2,000 life. That seems like an unintended, like, you're just gonna gain a butt ton of life. Like, what happens when my 2 Lucifers I stick them for 3 turns, right? It's like, okay, so at the end of my turn, I paid 2,000 life, I get 4,000 life. at the end of your turn, I paid 4,000 life, I gained 8,000 life, you know? It's like, eventually you're going to be at like 10,000, 12,000 life like we've had before, and like just kind of be unkillable. So I don't know. There's just some of these, especially like the red cards, I thought, you know, depending on what else we see, I feel like those are good power levels. Some of this stuff, though, I feel like is just a little too crazy and has a lot of abuse potential, which I'm worried about.
Yeah. No, and that's a good point, is also, you offhandedly mentioned there, is that his ability of paying 1,000 life and getting +2/+2 is he can do that as many times as you want. So he can come in the field and you pay 3,000, gain 6,000, and then on their turn you pay 6,000, gain 12,000, etc., just to like infinitely gain life, pretty much.
It's like if you play this guy onto like a tapped out field, let's say, you know, you like turn 2, they tapped out and they played whatever they played. Like your turn 3, you play this guy on a completely tapped out board. You pay all of your life. Well, I guess you need both of them, but you know, if they tap out and you get to like activate 2 of these abilities, like you really can get up to insane numbers of life. So I don't know. It's just some stuff like. Especially like Lucifer comboing with the other Lucifer is pretty crazy, or the Satan, which I mean makes sense, but pretty. I think there's some crazy stuff, and I hope they are able to maintain the power. Like cats, I thought cats was a perfectly fine power level. Like I don't think going wide is such an insane. Like I think it's a good deck idea. I think it could see competitive play, but I don't think it's broken. And I think there's a lot of things you could do to stop it. I think that would be a good power level. But
yeah, I mean,
my opinion on the cards mainly.
Oh, this was brought up in one of our local groups for Austin. Shout out to Roderick for bringing it up. But he did point out that what was it? Where does he say it? Shayla's Foresight can help mess with the graveyard without targeting against those white ducks or black-white ducks.
What does it do?
Shuffles the opponent's graveyard back to their deck.
Oh, I see.
And since it doesn't target, you can just get around the phrasing.
That is interesting, yeah. I mean, I feel like there's definitely stuff like, yeah. No, I think this is like an Evil Elemental Uprising counter in particular, but I could definitely see some interesting, like, that sounds like a good way to counter, to get around it.
It'll be interesting to see where we go from here. We have plenty of spoilers to go through. Like I said, we're not even to the halfway point quite yet. I am still crossing my fingers we see that Kaguya in the set itself, because it'd be great to see. I think it would change a lot of people's opinions, at least on that end. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's against buy 2 box promo just being an alt art.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Like, it's a beautiful art.
Yeah.
They can have a normal version in the box, completely satisfied. Like, I would still have a goal of wanting to get the pretty art. That'd still have some value. I feel it'd be not locked. I shouldn't say locked anymore. It'd be that premium card. It's probably a better phrasing if it's available in the box and has that buy 2 box thing. Like, that's cool. Keep it that way.
Like, you still run into the problem of it going through the distributors. So like, we might have a hard time getting it, for example. But at least it's something to like max out the rarity of your deck. Is a cool thing to have, especially like with Arwen. It's like, oh, you only have one version of it, so that's a little disappointing. It's nice to have multiple versions so you can max out rarities and all that. But go ahead.
I was gonna lead it onwards, but if you're still going on that, go ahead.
No, I was gonna transition to something else.
I was gonna say, with that though, like I'm glad also that people will be getting reprints, because I know there are still some. I don't know if it's a minority or whatever it is, but there's still people who will be able to get some of the cards they didn't get out of starter decks. Because some people I saw in the group saying, I picked up one, but the other ones are too expensive, I couldn't get them. Or some people didn't get any at all. Now they can get at least some of those core cards. Like, I think a common card is the Skeleton Horde, which is going for, what, $5 a piece, somewhere around there on TCG Player, just for one of those cards. So, like, them being able to get a hold of those now, that's like, it's pretty cool. Like, people who maybe didn't have it for a Loki alter deck or whatever they're trying to run now have those cards. So I do think that's at least cool. Like, that's the positive we can pull out of the negative of the fact that it's reprints. Look at Colin Stinkface right now.
See, but the thing is, they should have just reprinted the star decks.
They should have.
Say that again.
But the fact that they didn't, and that they're doing it in this way, is at least something.
Silver linings.
Yeah, but it's
silver lining.
It's a silver lining
Silver
of
linings.
like they. I mean, I guess silver lining because they. I think we've said they were like legit going to do a 50 card set, and then in the last second they're like, let's throw some star decks. So I guess that's a positive in a sense, but it's still like feels like a super like shady, crummy positive out of what like taking a bad situation, going from bad to like, oh, it's only a little bad.
That's what silver lining is all about.
Yeah,
Colin?
thank you for defining
I'm saying
it for us,
it's
for
not a
us who
silver
didn't
lining;
know.
it's a gray lining that you're interpreting as silver.
Okay, I had a quick question. We have 10 super rares, right?
I didn't count them yet, as far as we've seen.
Or is
so
it
far.
no? Like there
20. There's going to be
there
20.
are 20 super rares in the set.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going back and forth. That is insane because we've only seen like 7 or something, right?
Yeah, something small.
Yeah. So
And, yeah.
expect this set to be like even more incredibly busted. I'm also hoping just that each color gets equally busted stuff. Like this is already happening. You know, they're already going to, they're already going to push all these cards. So at least I can hope that all of the cards will be pushed for every color.
Oh yeah, I don't know why we keep saying 50. As of right now, it's confirmed 40 new cards, 20 rare, 20 super rare, and they just said that some of the other cards might be new, but we don't know numbers, so we just know for sure there's 40 new cards. Because Oscar was saying, we are almost at the halfway point at the 40 mark.
Yeah, you're right.
But we're closer to it than if it was 50.
It is 60.
We've seen about 8 or 9 SRs so far. 9 assuming Kage is in the set.
Right.
So we're almost we're not even halfway through the SRs, and look what we've seen so far. Oh my gosh.
I'm curious if we're gonna get, because we're gonna get 10 super rares are going to be the rulers as resonators, right? Kind of. But where did Alice
Assuming.
come from?
Well, it's a mixture because like we've seen artwork. Sorry, I'm spinning here and there. We've seen artwork and like we've seen not Kaguya. Well, we did see Kaguya. There's another Kaguya card. There's a Machina card. So it's like a lot of stuff is like, how did it get there? We don't know. But I'm also willing to bet that we're going to see one giant of every color. We've seen 2 giants so far at least.
That's true.
Yeah. I will also say that we didn't read any of this of the flavor text, and I was like kind of running through them.
I didn't, only because some of it was a little sketch here and there based on translations, and that was just nobody translated those parts. I did using just Google Translate, and some of it was like I had to use, whatever made sense in my head. Like I could say this based on how those wordings are. So that's the only reason why I didn't read any of those. I figured people would wait till we saw those on cards as well.
I just think the perfect Loki sounds awesome.
Yeah.
He's like I'm like Cell and I'm at my perfect form now. It's like okay, that's cool.
I wonder if that's
And,
proper because it did say it's on the Spanish cards like Loki Perfecto.
It says exactly. It says Loki Perfecto. I think that's a good translation.
Yeah. But yeah, so my fear is though that real quick is that we're gonna have like what Oscar said, where he's like, oh, there's a lot of cool stuff here. I'm gonna buy 3 boxes or 2 boxes instead of my normal one, and so we'll see a bump in the set. I think we were seeing a bump in pre-orders than normal and stuff like that, and like that's probably going to happen because of the power levels. The problem with that, and this is what happened before, is you're going to see that bump. We saw that with Reflect Refrain. We saw that pretty big with Sherry and kind of sort of IU, but that was for a different reason. And so you get these power level bumps, and so the set sells super well because everyone wants or needs that in order to play the game. But if you do that again, if you do that with another set, and especially if you do it with another set, then people are going to stop playing because of how high the power levels are. People don't want to play it, and that's what brings the game down. Like, people bought a lot of boxes to get Reflect Refrain and all her support, and then it completely almost destroyed the locals. It destroyed a lot of people's locals, and so that's a lot of people not buying boxes anymore. And the same thing that happened with Sherry, etc., and Prisha. And so that's one thing to keep in mind is hopefully they don't introduce anything to that power level in this set. It'll be kind of hard to, since they're not printing rulers, and I think the ruler is the basis of those sort of crazy power levels, but especially going into the next cluster where they'll reintroduce rulers, if they do that again, I think, and I said this before, I said this after Sherry, that I don't think the game can survive another Sherry, Reflector Frame, Persia scenario, Fox, so that's my fear of this set. If this becomes a trend, that's going to probably be it.
I honestly feel like they could even, like, I have no idea if this is, they could do this as a trend or if they will. Like, if they printed every like final set or final booster of the set like as one of these like super pushed insane like card types, like, I don't know, that'd be pretty crazy. But
it could be interesting in the sense of if they did it differently, if they did the last set of each, because the last set of each cluster usually is kind of this awkward one, because for some reason they don't know what to do, and they have this weird thing where they like to introduce new mechanics that we never see again. I don't know why, but what they should do, not should, but one thing, if they really hell bent on like doing high power sets and do it at the end of the cluster, you print these super strong cards, but have them like a chant rune or something like that, and have it specifically designed to be worked with stuff inside of that cluster that you've seen sort of a celebration of the cluster, and it does push everything to a crazy high power level, so you finish off each cluster with this crazy explosion of all the rulers like doing their max power level before the next set comes out. Not for that cluster, the previous cluster that's about to rotate, maybe. That way it rotates, and then you don't have to worry about that power level carrying over to the next set. But you understand what I'm saying. So you get 3 months of this crazy explosion of stuff before stuff rotates.
So you're saying if they printed cards in this set or in this booster box, they would be cards that worked with the previous rulers, like that worked with pandas and Kirik and stuff, right? And then they rotate and they're like, they lose their power level a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if that would actually be something that works because, but I think that'd be one way to go about it without having it damage the game for the next year if they're at that level, high level power level.
Yeah, it could be interesting.
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to touch on before we just wrap up here and maybe an early podcast is obviously ARG let go of Force of Will from support. They've also let go of other card games. I think they let go of Dragon Ball Super moved on its way. Not it let go of it, right?
Dragon Ball Super let go of them. Yeah.
Right. So it's had other separations. What I wanted to get at is so we lose this tournament sub tournament structure that I know some would argue was more of like a joke as opposed to an actual beneficial thing. Nobody took it very seriously outside the country, but there's been some people spitballing some pretty cool ideas to help replace this. This is something that I know Ruler School talked about in his podcast last week, but something I kind of just want to touch on for a second is like, because more recently it's called PPG. I forget what the acronym stands for. It's something player games, but they're located in Florida, and they actually run events for things like for Magic and Transformers, which are both Wizards products. It would be cool if they picked up on Force of Will. I think somebody had said at one point early on they did, and then let go of it after MOA. It'd be cool for them to pick it back up again. It's not as large of a structure as, say, ARG was, to where they can host this large, yearly event where it's like all these people show up for this cash event of some sort. But to provide kits, or to even because when I went to PAX South this past year, and I've seen them at other conventions around the U.S., they're the ones located inside, like at Gen Con, helping host events for certain card games. So to go to like a convention like say PAX again some year, and being able to go like to the back of it, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna go do Force of Will draft or a tournament that they're running off. Like stuff like that would be pretty cool to see kind of come back into play.
Yeah, no, that would be pretty interesting, and we don't need anything like to the scale ARG was, because I feel like a lot of that was like having the local stores run it, and all those different things weren't really that big popping off type of things, and so we just need something other than, we don't know what the GP schedule will be, but we need something other than just the once in a while GP how frequent those will be next year, we don't know. But if they're more frequent or less frequent, either way, they're not frequent enough to like keep everyone like amped all the time. So it's cool just to have something filler in between. I don't know if that was one of the questions maybe someone asked Svetlana to ask the company. Hopefully we'll hear back on that pretty soon here. But it'd be cool to hear if that's something that Force of Will would be interested in working with as well, because it sounds like, because the ARG one was once again similar to the Dragon Ball one. It was Force of Will dropping ARG in the same way Dragon Ball dropped them. So I wonder if that was because of his ARG, or if there's a tournament structure, maybe it was just the company and they'd be willing to do it with another company and stuff like that. So that could be pretty cool.
Yeah. I know separately some of the Texas people, the guys in Dallas as well as us over here in Austin, have been talking about hopefully getting some sort of cool event going up in Dallas where a bunch of people can come in from out of town and play some cool event. We could work towards getting maybe a custom playmat based on the entry fee to help recoup some of that money. So I think that would be pretty cool to see just till then take place.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. I think that's all we have for this week, right? You guys got anything else?
Yeah, we should probably wrap it up. I kind of wanted to get really quick. What's your favorite cards?
We can do that on the mini podcast.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay.
See you guys on the mini podcast.
Bye.